In the sun over here in the St. Louis area. I'm trying to be funny because it's been raining, but thank you for everyone for tuning in for a wonderful, wonderful show that we have tonight with a great panel of ladies. As always, everyone that is tuning in, make sure you share, like. If you're on Facebook, like it. YouTube, subscribe to the platform Sports Talk Show. And when you subscribe, make sure I got it back, y'all. Click on that bell. You know what? Anytime we go live, you all will be notified. And I want to give a shout out to, of course, our most gracious host with the most, DJ Fred, aka Smoooth. Shout out to Stan as well. And of course, we have a couple of our regular ladies here tonight from our ever so growing panel. Of course, we got Miss Jobo, and of course, the world's, I don't understand why, favorite Cowboy fan, even though she knows they really aren't worth talking about right now. But, you know, she's always making her presence known being a Cowboy fan and a Pirates baseball fan and a, what's the other sport, y'all? I forgot. What's the other sport?
Clippers basketball fan.
Yeah, Clippers. Yeah.
Pirates hockey fan. I mean, Indians hockey fan.
So sorry.
Sounder soccer fan. And
even though, wait.
Slam.
Yeah. The Slam is good. Everybody else, I'm like, Jobo, at least, even though she's an Astro fan, she's a Cardinals fan, so I can take that. But, yeah, Annie's in a league of her own over here, honey.
I thought about bringing up Cardinals gear, but that's too much work, you know, to decorate just for a Wednesday. That's too much work. So y'all have to deal with the Astros gear.
Again, they can take the good with the bad, right?
Yeah. After rolling, though, so haters don't hate.
know, because people still talking about the whole cheating scandal. This will not die down anytime soon, hun.
Ain't nobody worried about that no anymore. We all worried about sticky stuff and people
A new scandal.
dropping their pants when they walk off the mound to get sacks and shirts.
Yes, it's baseball's weird these days. That's
One
for
piece
sure.
of skin from mooning somebody walking off the mound showing his pants down because he was like,
Hey,
y'all want to check me? Just do it all. I'm like,
he
okay.
did get an underwear sponsor after that. I got a whole bunch of free boxers though, so whatever. I guess he's
Right?
good for life now.
I guess.
Grab your ankles and cough. That's the way it's gonna be when you get off the mound these days.
Crazy.
Stanley Goodwin says hi. Hi, Stanley.
Good old Gino. He's going to have probably another comment for you. He's the one I was going to comment about the Astros cheating, FYI, Jobo.
I still love him. Whatever. Baseball's got other things to worry about now. So
So how long is this sticky stuff scandal going to last? Until when?
Until the next scandal.
No, because it's like they're
Hopefully.
still doing this in the middle of the season, which is still it hasn't been worked out the kinks. I don't like the anybody can challenge it at any time. Like this is stupid.
yeah, it's silly. They should have done it in the middle of the year like that. But it's showing that some pitchers may or may not have been using it though. It's coincidence that some pitchers' ERAs are going up and other pitchers are still just being dominant. But like Garrett Cole's the main one. He's had a terrible June / beginning of July. So he's probably most likely one of those guys that was doing that.
So just one game without the stuff on your ball, and it's all bad. And it's gonna
That's
go
what
to
she said.
Miss Williams says hello, please. Hello, Miss Williams.
Hello.
Williams. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, what can I say? Well, look, sticky balls is no bueno, huh?
Oh, it's whatever. Like I said,
You can put that on
baseball
a t-shirt.
is
Yeah, put that on a t-shirt. Also, ladies, tonight, because we have a new panelist, I would like to do a quick intro on her and then bring her on, and she'll give you more details of her wonderful, wonderful life. We have Mrs. Tiffany Scott Horton, and she is a tennis guru. Believe it or not, you all, we went to high school together. She's the first person I knew as a black woman that played tennis. Never met anyone else until I met her. She was on a tennis team, Metro High School. I thought it was really dope.
I don't think that anyone played tennis before, like competitively or anything like that.
Yeah, I never did. In high school, I did cross country, a little bit of track, and also basketball. But
Metro had a tennis team.
Metro has basketball, volleyball, cross country, track, tennis, soccer, chess. Yes, we had athletic sports.
That was
And then
not
our
shade from
letter.
Joe.
Oh no, like I only know a Metro because of Bunny, and then also every year our softball team at Hancock High School always played Metro for our senior night, and we'd always whoop up on them. So
That's probably about right. Oh yeah, we had baseball as well. That sounds about right.
and I wasn't trying to do shade. It's just you don't need like a friend said shade. It's just
She said it's not shade if it's truth. So
no, it's like Hancock was such a small school to where we had baseball, softball, soccer for both teams, basketball, track, and what else? Shoot, wrestling. Like we didn't have a football team, a hockey team, anything like that because it was such a small school. So
Y'all didn't have football?
nope. I know. Like recently, after I left, they started talking about, I guess, smaller schools around the county were trying to do like maybe just even flag football for high school, for teams that didn't have it. But yeah, when I was there, the only football would be the powder puff game that us girls would have every fall. But other than that, yeah, we were a very small school. I think my graduating class was like 98 kids. So graduation,
more than us.
boom, it was nice.
We had, I think, 56, 57 in our graduating class. Yeah, nice and small. Still small. I will say the girls basketball team became dominant after I graduated. They actually won state a few times. They're still known for the girls basketball team. So if, I know some people never heard of it, or they do, they know because it's all about academics. But I said we had athletics too in certain areas. We were really good and competitive. So without further ado, let's bring on Mrs. Tiffany Sky Horton.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. What is all this, you guys?
That's how you silently clap hands.
Oh man.
It's something different. Spirit fingers, jazz
It's
fingers.
not spirit fingers.
Whatever fingers.
These are not spirit fingers. These.
Sorry, spirit.
That too. Whatever.
Oh
Whatever
man.
fingers y'all want to call them. As long as my fingers are working. Well, Tiffany, thank you for joining us, ladies. And I appreciate you for coming on. How's everything going?
Everything's well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here to, be on the platform. I know you guys been in this business for a while now, representing sports and more importantly, women in sports. So that's very important to me. And now, even though I'm not actively playing, I'm a huge supporter of youth sports, and my family is engrossed in it. So, happy to share my experience and offer anything I can, especially in a role of mentoring and things like that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, since you were, as I said, a tennis guru, like I said, you the first black girl I knew playing tennis, with the whole tennis world lately looking at how Serena had to leave out of Wimbledon early, and then Naomi Osaka when she didn't want to be part of Wimbledon because she needed a mental health break. That these young black women that are in tennis, and it's like I don't want to say they're scrutinized, but maybe because it's not so many of them that they're looked at more or they get more media attention. What are your thoughts as far as tennis and young ladies in the game and up and coming tennis stars?
One of the things I try to encourage, especially youth athletes, to do is get involved in tennis. Is because if you're looking for outlets to get scholarships, that's definitely one way to do that. And especially if you're academically inclined and you can play. I remember I heard you guys say Metro had a tennis team. So yeah, we did have a tennis team. It wasn't very established when I started there in high school, but we quickly established the team, and what we discovered were some pretty true athletes, people who we recruited just to play on the team so we could have a team. And believe it or not, my third year we went to state.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay.
yeah, we made it to state. And the second year, I lost. I was 1 round shy of making it to state, but I made it all the way to the finals, and we were playing John Burroughs. And I'll never forget that match. It was a windy, cold day, and I was a pretty sad girl that day. But outside of that, we made it to state that day. I was actually recruited to play in college, and so I encourage students, please get involved in tennis. It is a surefire way to not only boost resumes, but also give you an experience in college that you may not have had otherwise. A lot of students were recruited and they had, may have started playing during high school. So I think that's definitely something to consider. And as far as, up and coming athletes in the game, it's different. Like I kind of think about um, how we were with regard to tennis, and we were happy to be there. We were happy to play, and we could just take on any obstacle. And I think that one of the things that I look at, like Venus and Serena, were my role models, and they were girls who were worked hard. And where I really relate to them is that my dad was my tennis coach, and
Oh,
that was hard for me as well. Like they had a dad who was hard on them, who made them grind day in and day out, and you sacrifice a lot. And so I remember making that sacrifice in high school. I wasn't hanging out with friends in the summer. I was on the tennis court, and so you put in all that hard work, and so you want it to pay off. And college is one of those ways in which you can do it. And if you're lucky enough and good enough, you can go far.
oh, great. Well, tell me this: what got you interested in tennis, and how early did you start learning and practicing the game?
So I actually started when I was 8 years old. My dad is an athlete, and so he was actually looking to find a sport for me to get into. And he wanted me to play. I was actually just sitting around looking at cartoons, doing nothing at home. And he was like, "Well, this can't happen." So he picked up tennis, and he started dragging me out to that court every day. And at 8 years old, I kind of had a natural ability or a knack for the sport. Picked it up really quickly, and I was a big kid and I was strong, so I was able to hit the ball pretty hard. And, as a guy, he's really impressed by that. So he was like, "Yeah, we're going to take you out here and whack these balls all the time. Just get out here." And so, but that quickly transitioned over the years. That went from us just hanging out on the courts, a couple hours a day to me training 8 hours a day. So by the time I was a freshman in high school, especially in the summer times, I would train from 8 to 12 and then 2 to 6 every day in the summer, 5 days a week. And I played casually on the Saturdays, or I was in tournaments over the weekends.
Oh, so definitely consumed you at an early age, and you was on there all day instead of like that, hang with friends, cartoons, camps. Nope, you in a tennis court. That's it. You got a date
Yeah.
with the tennis court every day.
It was a big deal. I remember like a lot of times listening to my friends going out and hanging out, and I would be like tired. I used to, my friends joke about this all the time, but I would try to go hang out with them after practice, and I would be so dog tired. I'd be like, man, I just want to take a bath. And I used to go hang out in my best friend's mom's bathroom and just relax in the tub because I would be so sore and tired.
Okay, I get it. I get it. At least one thing, you weren't getting any trouble, and you weren't spending any extra money because you was out there just practicing over and over.
Yeah.
Do they have an AAU type style tennis team set up or tennis clubs like how they do with basketball and track?
It's kind of similar. So I played in the Missouri Valley, and so that's through the United States Tennis Association, and they have like a youth group and an adult group. And so with the Missouri Valley, I was playing tournaments. Now this is the other part. We did a lot of traveling, so we were playing tournaments around multiple states, like Oklahoma, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas. And so usually over the weekends, we would do a lot of traveling to those states to play tournaments. And they would usually last about 2 or 3 days, and we'd come home and train for the next tournament.
Gotcha, gotcha. So was your diet like normal, typical teenager or preteen teenager diet, or did you have to straight wake up eating carrots and celery, go to bed drinking we didn't call them smoothies back then. What do we call them? Health shakes or something. I don't know. It's we talk about the mid
Where
like
are you getting this?
oh,
Where are you getting this tennis diet from? Sounds like you're taking care of a rabbit.
Right.
You wake up and eat carrots and celery. What?
I just said something healthy. I don't know. I,
No.
my metabolism was so man. I used to by the time I was in high school, I literally was eating like 5 times a day. I'm talking about meals. I couldn't keep anything down. Being an athlete and working out, not working out, but just being active. Man, anything you put a carrot in front of me, I'm smashing celery, burger, pasta. I couldn't just nothing stuck to me. I felt I was eating like every 2 hours. It was crazy.
Oh, I was eating every 2 hours too, but I was trying to be gentle with myself. Another reason why my dad got me into tennis is because I was a chubby little kid. And he wanted me to have a sport to play. Like he's like, all right, you got to get out here and be active. And so he thought the tennis was like one of those lifetime sports where you can play it your entire life. And it's true. You can be 60, 80 years old out there in a tennis court. But with regard to diet, I was a kid and I had a kid's diet, seriously. I think, learning about nutrition came a little bit later in life with regard to healthy options to eat and things like that. But we were inner city kids, eating candy, going to the candy store, things like that. It wasn't much of a tennis diet. I think Subway regularly was about as close as we got.
Okay. Jumbo, let me
Subway.
ask you this. Because Jumbo, you played softball in high school. So did you have a athlete, a softball diet, or you were just eating anything in your face?
No, so some days you're outside 100-degree weather for hours and hours. I just want to go home after sweating so much and just eat anything. Like,
Mhm.
whenever I was playing select, we had 4 games, back to back nights. I'd be in the dugout drinking Mountain Dew and eating cheese fries because I was just so hungry.
What?
That's a lot of us did that. I wouldn't be able to do that now, but
Mhm.
Mountain Dew and yeah, just keep a cool rag on you because I was catcher and so it was just hot and sweaty and yeah, it
I
was
can see the
rough. It was
Mountain
rough.
Dew. The French fries though.
No, after the athletic field, shout out, they had the best cheese fries. I'm telling you, they're so good. I'm sure they're still like that. It's been a while. We have a couple comments. Is it Amantha Hubert? Is that how you pronounce her first
Oh,
name?
Amantha Hubbard. Yeah.
No. Okay. She said a couple things. Go Metro Academic and Classical High School, and she said it's so true. And then Carrie McDaniel said, "What a sacrifice."
Yeah.
Um, did your dad play tennis? Did I miss that part, or did he just want you to play tennis?
Yeah, actually, my dad picked up tennis rather quickly, and he actually ended up becoming a certified professional tennis coach.
Oh,
Nice.
So yeah, so he trained, and he has, played as well. So he played as well as he trained, and he coached. Right now, he's just, pretty much coaching. But he has trained many, many kids around the St. Louis area. He's been involved in the Net Rushers Tennis Organization. He has Hard Hits, which is his own tennis organization, and then he also worked with Match, NJTL. He's worked with a lot of different organizations with regard to tennis. He even works over in East St. Louis, and coaches kids there, in underserved areas. That's his passion. I remember asking my dad, you know, how much do you charge these people? Because when he was paying for my lessons and we were going out to the county, he was paying $40 and $50 an hour for people to train me. But when I asked him, he was like, oh, I pay whatever they can afford. And I was like, well, what if they can't afford anything? He was like, well, I don't charge anything. He was like, it's better for a kid to be out there learning a sport and getting an experience and bringing something to their lives. I mean, he was all about child enrichment. Uh, and he's still like that to this day.
that's definitely dedication and
Yeah.
passion. So yeah, not in it for the money. If they
I
can't
got
pay
one
you,
more
so keep
question
you in
about your
school.
tennis life. Are you one of those people that's like, ah?
Like extra animated when she's hitting it.
And he's like, I'm so done with you. You grunt?
I'm all about that. Yeah, I'm making all the noises. I'm hitting the ball extra hard. Yeah, like I guess if I were to fancy my style, it would be along the lines of a Serena. I'm probably giving myself too much grace, but yeah, I uh, I am. I'm a hard hitter and a go getter out there.
That's what's up. All right now. Shout out to Amanda. Thank you for plugging in Metro because usually Fred's on here and we have a lot of guests that are Vashon alum. And so I don't even get into it. I just be quiet with Metro. I mean, everybody knows how Metro is, but we always have Vashon people on here and I'll be like, here we go. So for once, they're not running this show. They're not in the comments. It's Metro alone. Yay!
Yeah, shout out to Metro. Shout out to Carrie. I got friends and family here, and
This
I'm
is so St. Louis. Why are people talking about high school? When was the last time we was in high school?
But that's
Salute.
that's how the St. Louis spirit is. Or that's how the city and the nature, the people are when you're from
So
here.
St. Louis. What high school did you go to? What high school
It
did you go
is.
to?
It's just
I
in
wonder how
the
that
city's
even
DNA.
started.
yeah.
But we like that with our colleges, at least with HBCUs. We like that too. Now I'm representing one HBCU. Shout out to Morehouse. So
All right.
college. My nephew will be graduating there next May, so I represent all HBCUs. But we do that. Like, what HBCU go to? What? What? Hey, it's a family thing. It's just in the DNA.
Xavier University represent.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta love one big happy family. And there's one other question I want to ask you about, Miss Tennis Guru. So, like I mentioned earlier, with before Naomi Osaka, when she made headlines that she needed a mental health break,
Yeah.
she getting backlash, she got fined, and they're like, hopefully, the tennis World Tennis Association or whoever makes the rules would look into that and not just fine somebody, but actually explore somebody who needs a break from the media. You just won't say find it and shut up, but actually listen and get them the help. So, what is your take on just dealing with mental health and not just with tennis, with any sport? And how do you feel that big sports organizations need to, carry the message about getting into athletes seeking help?
Yeah, a lot of times athletes don't ask for help. There's a stigma a lot of times around athletes, and they feel like they got to be the strongest, the fattest, fastest, the hardest, and they're not out there seeking help when they need it. A lot of times we come from, very tarnished and hard backgrounds where we've been through a lot of trauma, and we're out there and we're putting it all into the sport. But in her case, if somebody asks for help and lets you and speaks out about it, which I think she's definitely doing a great job by bringing some more awareness to mental health in sports. I think that you got to listen. I mean, this stuff cannot be ignored. And I'll take you back to my college story that I'll share with you, which was a traumatizing event in my life. But I appreciate Naomi because sometimes a big part of me, and I don't know all of the reasons in which she is taking this stance, besides her own mental awareness of her mental health. But I really feel like she is very clear about what she's seeing around her, and recognizes that no one else is standing up for her. And I mean, in my eyes, I do see her as a hero for doing it. And just to kind of give you some perspective about mental health, when I was in college, I played tennis, and I was the number two player on the team, and the number one player was Ty Green. She was my doubles partner as well. And we won several conferences together. We went to nationals together. But in my junior year, Ty committed suicide. And so we did not know that her issues were that deep or that big.
Mhm.
I had no idea. I mean, we were planning, to go out partying and things like that, but I had no idea she was planning to take her own life. And so I think that, when players speak, you got to listen and you got to offer them the help that they need and have resources available. If I had it anyway, I would have all college athletes attend counseling sessions. You
Mhm.
never know what could come up. You never know how that may help them, how it may help their game, how it may help them play better, and how it also may save their life.
Wow.
Yeah, nowadays it's like frowned upon to like show feeling, whether you're a girl or a boy. I don't really understand it. People make fun of you for it, but I don't know. I can never say that word. Statistics to all this, but I feel like more and more, like every year, you're seeing people that are constantly taking their lives due to some type of mental sickness. So I wish hopefully life gets a little bit better, like to where people don't judge you as much for that stuff, whether you're an athlete or just a normal human being.
Yeah. Good point. I know I heard this on the Ricky Smiley morning show a while back. He was like, if something was wrong with your knee, you go to the knee doctor. Something wrong with your foot, podiatrist, foot doctor. So if you think something wrong with your mind, your brain, go see the brain doctor, psychiatrist. Like if something's wrong or you're not sure it, go seek the professional help. You do it for the other body parts, do it for your mind as well. So I just hope, I think I'm hearing more about it being talked about, at least sports wise and in the media. Doesn't mean like quote unquote regular everyday people or America's paying attention, but you hear more people talk about with teen suicide and suicide prevention. So, and to prevent suicide, sometimes just seeking out professional help. If you see a sign, a warning, sometimes you're not going to see it. I know you're talking about your doubles partner, Tiffany. Maybe you guys didn't see the signs, but um, if we hear professionals who are paying millions of dollars saying they need mental health and mental break, then we know it affects people in different ways. But just listen to them, or as you said, we don't need to have a session or mental break or have your coach whatever and let every athlete do it. I mean, because it affects everyday people, not just athletes clearly, but we know how athletes are put more in the media in that spotlight. So, but yeah, that's sorry that you had experienced that, but it's good that
Mhm.
you speak out on it from personal experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the more people take a stance, the more attention will be brought to it. And they put pressure on these institutions or organizations to pay attention to players' mental health. Sometimes I struggle with the fact that I mean, she's getting some backlash, and I heard one of the comments being said, like, what's the struggle? I don't really understand what's the struggle. She's not, poor. She's not looking for food. She has everything she needs, and it's just not giving awareness to the fact that all struggles are not the same,
Right.
and all people shouldn't be treated the same in that sense. I mean, everybody is different, and mental health is different from all other kinds of health, which is what you're speaking to. So I think that you really have to, you know, make it a point to allow people to express themselves and also to listen and provide resources.
Gotcha. So ladies, speaking of this, we can segue into hopefully she's not gonna have mental issues, but we don't know. Regarding our famous friend Sha'carri Jones, track star who is not making it on the US Olympic team. Even though she was suspended 30 days, the US Olympic people said she can't even qualify for the relay, even though she could technically because it would be after her 30-day suspension. But if you haven't heard the story, that she decided to smoke marijuana when she found out on air from a reporter that her biological mother passed away. Now, granted, people were saying she probably was smoking weed prior. Who knows? Who cares? My point is because she has dealt with a lot in the last 2 weeks between the mother dying, how to cope with the pain, and now this media scrutiny. Again, we don't know what this could lead to mentally. Maybe she gets a break. Maybe, sometimes people see somebody on the TV and it's like, that could be me. And some people spaz out. Some just like, I use it as motivation. So anyway, what are y'all thoughts about this Sha'Carri track star situation? Excuse me.
Annie, what about you? You've been quiet.
Excuse me.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I agree with what she said, which is that she takes responsibility for it and she doesn't want our sympathy. And that makes sense because, I mean, I understand the reasons that led to it. Um, and the fact that it's, legal in her state. And if she were doing anything other than competing for the Olympics, that this wouldn't be an issue. At the same time, you know that you're going to be tested, you know when you're going to be tested. There are ways around it when you know that you're going to be tested. Um, and she didn't do that. And that's why she's so willing to take responsibility for what happened. And I appreciate that. So I agree with Sha'Carri about Sha'Carri's decision.
Yeah, I'm happy she didn't like try to play, like that. That made me happy. She owned up to it. I think it's silly what's happening, but like he said, she knew she was gonna get tested. Kind of like Alex Reyes for the Cardinals. He got tested. Um, he failed a marijuana test in the minors a couple of years ago, and then I think he was suspended the whole year. Like, it's stupid because they don't do that in the majors. So it's just different rules, different sets of rules or whatever. But it's disappointing, obviously, because she was a lot of talk. But hopefully, we're gonna, like she said, you will see me again. So she's gonna be excited in a couple of years, just like she was this year. It's disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. I hope that, we do see her again. And I hope that she's a lot stronger. But I also hope that she has the support around her that she needs. Because I think that, these people train, but they're not training alone. They're training with coaches and everyone else who can also recognize things in players that may need attention. And even if she may not recognize it for herself, that's a big part of having a coach. They may sometimes know you better than you know yourself. And so I think with the proper support and the help, if she needs it, any type of mental health help or any social type of aspects of help that she may need, that she gets.
And then, funny, some of my comments are broken. Fred said something about someone said requesting a boycott of the Olympics. I can't see the comment, but asking if we agree with that or what our thoughts on that are. And then Kristen
Peter
Rogers.
Jackson.
Okay, and then Kristen Rogers said no boycott. There are other black athletes that need support as well. Um, and then Miss Williams said, I admire her for taking responsibility. Maybe she could have found a different way to deal with her grief. She was just going through a lot and probably not thinking clearly.
And I think that's where that team comes in. Like, I wish that someone who was on her team had been with her when that happened
Mm-hmm.
in two ways. One, to just be there with her while she grieved. And then
Mhm.
two, to be like, don't do that. Like, if nothing else, your mom doesn't want you to throw this away. You know, you got Olympic trials coming up. Like, let's find some other way to get off this grief.
Mhm.
Or part 2B,
Mhm.
hey, you did this. Let's get on the interwebs and get you some of those things that help you pass this test, so that we don't have to have two strikes as a result of what happened.
Now
So
get
yeah,
some of
I
these
do wish
things.
that she had a team around her.
But you wanted somebody to pass her some good old clean urine?
Look, you can buy lots of things
Oh my
There's
from Al
options.
Gore's interwebs, huh?
So there's options.
yeah,
Yeah,
there we go. You got options, right?
you got
Girl.
options. You can get tablets, dye. You can pay off the person running the
Oh my
test. You
gosh.
can get clean pee. You can get somebody else to take it for you. You can get one of your buddies to take it. You put in it. Well, I'm not going to describe to you how it works, but
So let me ask you this, not being funny though, because you were a football player in slam, did they require you all to do drug testing in your league? Or
no. So we were not drug tested, um, except so my last year playing was the first year that they had changed their policy around trans women playing. And the policy included needing to have been on the hormonal drugs for a certain period of time. And it didn't fully take effect because there was it was like once the initial policy was proposed, there was some like, who's going to enforce this? Like, is everybody going to have to take this test? It's not cheap, and we're already paying to play, right? So it's not like it's inexpensive for us to do anything. We pay for our entire seasons, sometimes thousands of dollars per player. So, like, who's paying for this? Is it just going to be a team looks at somebody and is like, oh, I don't think that player was born female, and like request a test? Are we gonna stop the game and do whatever? How long does it take to get these tests back? How many games get for? So they rolled out an initial policy. There were still a lot of things that were being worked out, but that was the only potential for like drug testing, because in a league that's not paying for us to play, there's not as much room to make so many demands on the player, unlike a professional league where they're paying for you to take the test, and they're paying for the doctors to administer it, and they're paying for the labs that are going to test it, right? So you just kind of lose some of the teeth you would have with any type of rule like that when you're, one, not paying the players, and two, you wouldn't even be paying for that type of testing. So
okay. Joe what Ms. Williams was saying earlier, that comment that got cut off, she was saying regarding Naomi's situation, since college kids are frequently away from home for the first time, they may feel isolated. And just because we don't see a struggle doesn't mean there isn't one. And Carrie, which you knew, Miss Tiffany, she said that kudos to Naomi for speaking out. Um, I again, anybody wants to speak out about it. Everybody's not gonna think the same way because, like you said, all because you don't see a struggle doesn't mean there is one. People see high paid athletes or people that just making a lot of money. Even WNBA players, they're not quote unquote making a lot of money, but they're making a salary, a summer salary basically, and they do regular jobs in the school year, or sorry, in the off season. But they can still be going through things. Like I said, every day is a work of yours. If you have issues, we all don't know, and everybody doesn't talk about their problems. But if you have a good support system, good friends, you know, to work through it or talk through it, I mean that helps too. But you don't always see the signs. So again, just hopefully more people do take this stuff seriously. But sometimes back in the day, you may think, "Oh, this girl just crazy." Actually, no, she had a problem. Now it's her way of speaking out. We just brushed it off. Also regarding the boycotting of the Olympics, I don't know who said that because this is
Steven
one
Jackson.
athlete in one sport. Clearly, y'all know. I asked last week about what sports everybody's interested in, and we have soccer. We got basketball. They what break dancing. You have of course you got not just the track and field events for the men and women's side, but there's so many other sports out there. So boycotting it is not going to solve this issue. Now they do need to re-examine it because the other again another black athlete or athletes that are affected by it with swimming with the dang on swim cap. There's a black
Right.
company, you haven't heard, black company that was catering swim caps to basically black women or men because of our hair and they would fit under there comfortably. And the US or not US, the International Olympic Committee is banning it because they said typical swimmers don't need that swim cap. Now, at first thing, I'm hearing that, I'm like, oh God, here we go. Somebody being racist, right? Clearly, International Olympic Committee is made up of people from different countries. So some of the struggles racial wise that we go through the United States, other countries they know about it, but they don't know sometimes to the root of it, how bad or how everything is. Now to me, I'm still thinking like, okay, that's still what a necessary comment. They meaning the powers that be for the International Olympic Committee may not have thought that as a racist comment, but again, it's catering to one race or group of people, so it still is racist. But if you don't feel that way, why do you still have to ban it if it's not going to affect the performance? This has nothing to do with testing. It's nothing to do with uniform. Every swimmer wears a swim cap, men or women. So that's why I'm sitting there like, why are we taking it this far where it can't be this special one like it's going to enhance the performance? And I'm sitting there like, here we go again. It just seems like sometimes we come back like athletes, we get to deal with more stuff that's not on the field or on the playing field or the track or on the just the situation like other people don't have to deal with. And I'm like, why does it seem like it's quote unquote us getting picked on? Maybe it's me, but anybody have any thoughts on in this swim cap thing?
I mean, anti-blackness is international. That's not an American phenomenon. So, right, America might lead in racism, uh, but we don't have the market cornered. Anti-blackness is an international phenomenon. But yeah, I completely agree in terms of. I mean, I'm glad that since the initial decision that they are currently revisiting it. But I think for the people for whom this was who would benefit, it was primarily women who wanted to keep longer hair, in addition to natural styles. And I think that there's just been a lot of just anti-women around the Olympics now, even with the recent decision by the Olympic Committee in regards to previously stating that infants would not be allowed in the Olympic Village. And there were several, protests from women athletes who were like, I'm a nursing mother. Like, I need to have my child with me so my child can eat. And then
Yeah.
they just ruled like this week that infants could come, but that still doesn't leave time they still haven't made a ruling about having another accompanying caregiver to care for the child while the mother is competing. And so it's just like, I don't, it's like they've never had women compete in the Olympics in like the entire like millennia that the Olympics have been occurring. And it just doesn't make any sense that they don't have people who are part of these committees who do have an eye for inclusion and equity in these things to say things like, hey, okay, so the swim cap, their quote was, doesn't fit the natural form of the head. Okay, so if anything, that sounds to me like a disadvantage. So if someone's volunteering to be disadvantaged, why do you care? It's you're not saying it's performance enhancing, right? So then why do you care if I want to carry extra weight around, right? Or do something that doesn't make me as streamlined as somebody else who's swimming, right? And then to say like, well, we're just going to ban all infants and wait until 2 weeks before the games start to make a decision that impacts disproportionately women, and nursing mothers. So I just I don't understand how they got this far without having anybody on that committee who like checks people in their decisions and is like,
Because it's probably male dominated, just like the stupid rules in this country or certain things we don't think about. Hence why you're talking about nursing and infant. Look how long it took some companies and places to have places for women to breastfeed when they get back to work. Men
Yeah.
don't think of it, of course. Why would they? But it's still like once you come into the situation, then boom, change it. But it's like there have been black swimmers before. This is not the first Olympic where you had black swimmers and black women. We know Simone Manuel. She broke records. She was at the last Olympics, black girl or black woman. Power to her. And if she decided this Olympics that she was going to be one of those people, maybe she is, I'm not sure, to wear that special swimming cap, you definitely would be like, wait a minute, if you have a gold star, gold medal athlete here, and she wants to change her swim cap, you're going to tell her no? Don't you think you need to revisit the rules and just don't say no, like, oh, wait, let's just go ahead and look at it now and accept it rather than saying no and revisit it later? Like, what's up with this? No, now look, and again, the world changes, times change. You guys may see more and more black swimmers. Get ready and accept it. But why would you punish somebody for a swim cap? Like, come on, this is not performing enhancing. It's almost like it's just like literally a light bulb. Like, duh, come on now.
Well, I think one of the things that I'm finding is that, especially with the Olympics is built up around rules and regulations. And what they're used to is people conforming. And a lot of times, what you're seeing now is people not conforming to the standards and the norms because times have changed. The people showing up at the Olympics are changing, and they are speaking a little bit more about, what they need in order to compete. And I think that the Olympic officials and the boards need to get with who these players are and respect their differences. Because what they see, in my opinion, is everybody as one representing the United States. They don't see these individuals coming and they're competing to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got some comments from Miss Williams. She said, I thought the decision on the new swim cap was less defensible. She said, I think what's happening is people are finally speaking up about these types of concerns. She got a couple of them. Also, previous years, a lot of people could come, so it might not have come up regarding the nursing.
but that's the reason for having diversity, inclusion, and representation on committees is that when you need to have to change, when you need it to change protocols in response to COVID and the restrictions around like travel and the Olympic Village and those sorts of things. I mean, I feel like any woman who was a mother recently would have been like, I'm sorry, that policy is not going to fly. We're inviting women here. A lot of high, Alex Morgan is a new mother who's nursing. Someone else, a number of women on several countries' basketball teams. And like, I feel like you only needed to invite like one person to be like, nah, that doesn't sound right. So, like, even though it hasn't been an issue in the past, when you need to assemble a team to make these types of like in time emergency or special decisions, you need to think about how can we be representative of everybody who's going to need to come here for this event and get them in the room making these decisions. So even if it hasn't come up, to me, that's still not an excuse because we need to have more diverse, inclusive, and representative decision makers so that people can be like, that's dumb. We're not doing that before you even.
Right.
I mean, think about how many things the Olympics has had to backtrack recently, right? In terms of like something gets made and then people have to take to social media and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, we'll reconsider it. Like, when I feel like if you had just had a diverse, inclusive, and representative leadership team, a lot of these decisions wouldn't have made it like out of the boardroom.
Yeah, that's in a perfect world. We're trying to get there. Got a long way to go because we deal with this in our everyday lives without dealing with Olympics and performing. Like I said, dealing just at the job and companies from providing a room for you to breastfeed while you're working or providing paid parental leave because we know legally there's no set time that a company has to give you time off from work after you have a baby. A lot of times companies, you have FMLA, that's federal government, and that only covers your absence while you're going doesn't pay you. So paid parental leave is a big step, but that's more corporations, private sector, even the government doesn't have paid parental leave. They just make you use sick time. So again, a lot of the rules, unfortunately, men are there now. For them, they have wives, and you were thinking like, well, you have a wife, would you want her to have time off and get paid? But I don't know if it doesn't register or I don't know. But to me, it just stems from this conversation I had a couple of days ago. Trying not to jump subjects here because I know Jobo's about to leave us in a few minutes. But excuse me, in general, going back to the Olympics, boycotting it, not just swim cap, not just Sha'carri. I don't agree with it. For people, support your people, players. It's just a lot of countries participating, not just people from
Yeah.
America, but I told you all, my family, on mom's side, we're Panamanian. So Panama doesn't have too many Olympic athletes. When they get in there, we support them. The Bahamas, Jamaica, we there. We support other countries too for people that look like me. Nigeria is gonna be playing in the hopefully in the basketball. We got soccer. It's just other stuff. So we have one or two topics people may not agree with, or they're like, it doesn't always stand for a boycott to me. But that's just my 2 cents. If y'all want to boycott, you give me your opinion. Y'all will because of these situations, but I'm not. Excuse me.
Yeah, Bunny, I'm gonna help you get through some of these comments real quick because this chat room is booming tonight. Holy cow! Okay. Malaria Peace said also women probably adjusted to the rules and didn't push back in the past, which is I can 100% probably agree with that. J Mac said it's not like the cap is more aerodynamic. Malaria Peace also said oh, that's just another one in there, the same one. J Mac said, Fred, you keep putting the same ones in here. Ms. Williams says the new swim cap could also help athletes who belong to religions that discourage members from cutting their hair. Which, yeah, I played softball with the girl that always had to wear a headdress and everything. So, yeah, sometimes it could be religious. To the Alex Morgan thing, she's the one that I seen on Twitter, say something about it. Just this summer, with being a new mom, we go to my brother's house a couple streets down, and just packing up all this stuff for just to go swimming for a couple hours is a pain in the butt. So I couldn't imagine trying to pack up to go to Tokyo or Japan? Where are they at this time?
Tokyo, Japan.
Yeah, so trying to hurry up and pack up for however long they're going to be there, in a week. I couldn't even imagine doing that. And I'm assuming some of this probably has to do with the pandemic. I'm sure there's not going to be that many people there, but you should be able to have your child there that you're still nursing. Like, I wouldn't leave Mia, just leave her back in the States. I can't do that. I don't even like going to the grocery store without her.
It's like it's a package deal. Me and her, or you're not getting anything. You want this country represented? I got to be able to come with her, or that's y'all rates that's going to be low because I'm not there setting the world on fire with my talents.
Well, that was kind of a tipping point. There were a couple of women athletes who said that they didn't know that they were going to go because they're nursing. And I mean, it's not like you can pump enough for 2 weeks to leave in the freezer for somebody else, right? So a lot of them took to social media and they were like, I might not even be able to go to the Olympics as a result of, these policies, which took way too long to come out. The Olympic Committee had an extra year to kind of consider these things, and still.
So some of these things were brought up last year, even though we didn't have Olympics, but it was brought up last year.
No, because they didn't release the policy until recently. So in the past, for the pre-pandemic, like you could have a number of people in the Olympic Village, so it wasn't necessarily an issue. But now they're like, okay, so we are limiting the number of people in the Olympic Village, and then adding an addendum to say, okay, so no infants, but you're releasing that policy like a couple of weeks before people are traveling, and then reversing your decision just 2 weeks before it's time for athletes to go. And so it's kind of like, if you knew in 2020 that you were going to cancel, but come hell or high water, you were going to hold the games in 2021. So it's not like the Olympic Committee wasn't like, wait and see how things have changed. I mean, they had decided the moment it was canceled that they were going to do it in 2021, regardless of where the world was with the pandemic. So y'all could have thought about this then.
Yeah, and I know that COVID has been like pretty unpredictable for everyone. So the Olympics is no different than the rest of the world. But I really struggle with the fact that they're not even looking at the legal aspect of this. I mean, people take second mortgages out on their houses. They take loans and all the stuff just to train to compete. You don't know what kind of sacrifices these people have made just to be there in the first place, and to cancel on them at the last minute. This may be their only shot. So I think that, from a legal perspective, they should be backtracking. They should be rethinking every, decision that they're making right now that is in disagreement, or omitting people from being there that should be allowed to participate.
So let me ask y'all this though, because there's a difference: the U.S. Olympic Committee and the international. Because in the U.S., I don't know if y'all know, been outside this country. Well, they already perceived Americans as arrogant, stupid, and some women we do get to speak up more about our rights, even though we don't always get them still. But in other countries, women don't get a voice. So is legal rights American, like that's an American thing? Because in overseas there is international laws, but how much could that have they be thinking like that? Because you know how we are in a blah blah blah, a litigious country, litigious society. We have all our rules, got our constitution, this and that. In other countries, not so much. Especially look at China, look
Mhm.
at India, you even look at Nigeria. I mean, it's a lot of countries know that women don't have rights or can really get spoken up for. So I know to us it's second nature. Like, wait, you said woman can't, I can't breastfeed my child. What? We ready to be like, hold up now. I got to take this to a lawyer. I got to get you all on social media. In other countries, I don't think there could be as vocal for somebody gonna listen to them because they're still known to be treated as second class citizens. And over here, our mindset, we're equal. We get treated
Where
as
we're still treated as second class citizens, so let's not act like America. There's still anti-feminism
I
here.
know, but I'm just saying,
Okay.
again, if you go into other countries,
Mhm.
we're looked at as first class and how women can speak about and get rights there compared to the. So yeah, I said it a few seconds ago, and we still don't get all our rights, and we're not even treated equal. But we still have much more than in other countries for women. That's all I was saying. So I said, from a legal perspective, I would think that. So you telling me no, I can't this and that. Automatically, let what's legal, who I got to get involved, what I need to speak out about. In other countries, it's not so much. You're lucky you can have an Olympic sport and women to make up the team. I'm just saying.
I
It's
totally agree with that. Like in other countries, you probably wouldn't have this platform, to speak out about this either. Um, but one of the things that you may touch on that actually may be a benefit in this particular situation is a boycott. I mean, if it came down to it, America leading a boycott against the Olympics may actually be effective because we would be speaking for women around the world who don't have a voice.
I don't know if it would be as effective as we think it would, considering how many opportunities it would open up for other countries for the US to not compete. I think other than the Summer Olympics that were held in China, I don't think that the US has not led the gold medal count in Olympics in like a long time. And so America was suddenly like, well, we're not going to send our basketball players. I think the world would be like, all right, have fun. Thanks. So I don't know that it would have the impact that we think it would for American athletes to say that we're not going to compete. And as far as the legal entity, like you can take legal action against the IOC.
Mhm.
Um, and it was more than American women who were speaking up about the breastfeeding issue in particular. I think we only hear about American women because if you listen only to American sports media, then they're going to cover American women in sports. But they were not the only ones to bring up the issue. But again, by having diverse, inclusive, and representative decision making bodies, then it wouldn't be up to individual athletes from countries with extreme oppression against women to make decisions that were in favor of women. Um, because it shouldn't take women to think about women. Um, and it shouldn't take Americans to think about these things. So yeah.
Just agree with Bonnie. I'm gonna read these last couple comments before I get off.
okay.
Um, Miss Williams said our company there, where she's at, provides parental leave for both mothers and fathers, but then again, they're based in Germany. Um, she also said there is anti-feminism here, but we do have legal recourse. Other countries speaking up to get a woman jailed or even killed. And then, I guess this could be something you guys can talk about, but Fred said that now they're talking about setting different guidelines for fans to be at the venue because of rising cases in Japan with the pandemic.
Yeah, I read about that today. It's getting they're on their like fourth wave now in Japan. I'm like fourth. I said, well, what wave are we on in America? Because that's not what our case are rising, but they said there's higher over there. I'm like, goodness gracious,
Hmm.
goodness.
And that's another thing in terms of respecting people's rights is that by every poll that's been taken in Japan, the Japanese citizens don't even want the Olympics, but the IOC is not going to lose out on that money. So,
Oh, Joe had to leave for the evening, but thanks again for your time, Joe. But we appreciate you, honey.
mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
Oh, okay, you did a
Oh no,
reappearance.
she came back.
Yeah, you want some more?
Joe, are you back? Oh, nope,
Oh,
no,
no,
she's
you're
gone
not.
again.
Okay. Well, thanks again for your time, Jobo. Thanks for being my extra set of eyes. Where's ladies? Just to let you know, we have two more that will be joining us shortly. And let me do a quick commercial break. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in to the Platform Sports Talk Show. This is your girl Bunny, and I want to thank our host with the most, DJ Fred, aka Smooth, and also Stanton. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you are checking us out on Facebook Live, also on YouTube, and subscribe. Because anytime we go live, you will be notified. And when you subscribe, make sure click on that bell. Okay. Want y'all to be on all in the loop of when the Platform Sports Talk Show has people on. We got things to say and things to do. Annie, can you be my extra set of eyes now, honey? Now that
I
Joe.
will.
Okay.
All right.
Over to
So we've got a couple of common or one comment. Miss Williams said there's anti-feminism here, but here we do have legal recourse. Other countries speaking up could get a woman jailed or even killed.
that is
I mean,
true.
it happens here in the U.S. too, but I understand the point people are trying to make. I understand that there's a scale, and yes, women have more rights here, but make no mistake, it is still a very dangerous country to be a woman in, particularly if you're a BIPOC woman, especially Indigenous women. We're speaking
Hmm.
of can get you jailed or killed. Okay, and let's see. Another comment from Ms. Williams. I don't understand how a technologically advanced country like Japan, where people generally do what the government asks, didn't get a majority of people vaccinated, at least in Tokyo. So it was actually I don't know if people were, I'm well actually girl too, because I'm a nerd, other than being like a sports nerd.
We'll
But,
take
well,
that.
well actually,
That's fine.
um,
We'll take the sports nerd. It's all good.
so it was the government that held up the vaccination process, and it was partly due to exactly like how structured and hierarchical their government is, where it had all these extra layers of process and setup and stuff that they just didn't get it rolled out in time to get people vaccinated, particularly before the next wave hit, which may include some of the variant cases. So yes, it was governmental red tape.
So now the government red tape gonna be quote unquote lifted so they can get more of their constituent, not the Olympic athletes that have been coming in, just their constituents and citizens. Like
So
take
a
them
few,
first before the outsiders come in.
yeah, so a few sources that I read said that some and it's hard to know what percentage, but that they are hearing on the ground that there's actually a movement to not get vaccinated in effort to get the Olympics canceled because they don't want it there. So
But that's still gonna okay. I hear that, but help me make that make sense. Because even if the Olympics get canceled, the virus is still out there. It's still going to spread whether outsiders are come or not. Hence how they have a fourth wave and outsiders haven't even landed down in their country yet. I'm confused. Help me make sense.
I can help you help I can help you make sense of it because I feel like a lot of things related to this pandemic, people have said stuff that I'm like, I don't. Okay, that
I'm
doesn't
used
make
to
sense to
Americans
me.
being dumb and not
I
taking
don't
stuff serious.
understand.
I'm used to the Americans though. They made this a political thing last year. I'm used to the dumb and stupid stuff being spread out. But
I'm
other
used to
countries
people.
are not.
No,
They
I'm
don't
used
take
to
it more seriously.
people.
I was reading today another article. I don't know if this considered me a nerd or not because I do read a lot, just because. And in the country in South Africa, they have one of the highest. First of all, the continent of Africa has the least population of people being vaccinated. It's in a single digit. That's how low it is. And in South
Hmm.
Africa, they have another a wave and an outbreak, and they're saying that they're waiting on help from not just the U.S. but even I think it was China to get the vaccines to the different countries there. Now, one time when I was reading when the pandemic started, the continent of Africa didn't have that many cases, like they were almost
Right.
immune from it. But now, I mean, eventually it's gotten there, and they have a lot of countries on the continent, but they're begging these countries to send them some vaccines. And now you have, of course, Americans who are just like, I don't want you paying people doing lottery to get vaccinated. You got people in other countries who are desperate for it. It's so crazy to me, but I don't know if they're thinking to get people to have the virus to stop the Olympics in a country is going to make a difference. When Olympics come and go, the virus is there. You don't want that. That's what I would think.
Right.
Look, when people are desperate, they resort to the options that they have. And if they're rallying and organizing and using social media has not prompted the Olympics to be canceled, I guess you got to be extreme with it. I don't know. How else
Well,
do you get people to listen?
I
When
mean,
you've tried the more like conventional means, what else do you do?
yeah. And I think being extreme is, a big part of it. I mean, COVID was extreme, and that's how change occurred. I mean, you think about this whole work from home thing and how people are now finding this hybrid approach more effective. And, you're talking about people actually utilizing the resources they have to not, you know, have to be in offices every day and people actually being more productive from home. You think about how it's changed the way you operate on a daily basis. So those extremes help things get accomplished. I'm a little suspect on the governmental red tape thing, but again, governments take control and they enforce the laws that they want to enforce, and they ensure that those things get done in those countries that they're controlling. So with America, to me, a lot of times it doesn't seem like we want the virus to be here, so we move about as such. But in other countries, it's a very, very real thing, and them not wanting the Olympics to be there and more concerned about outbreaks and death toll, and just the trauma it takes on the local, civilians. I think that, extreme is the answer in some cases.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you this
I mean,
too.
the US and Japan are probably on extremes on the scale of governmental organization. When you think about our first rollout of the vaccine here in the US, like it was so disorganized that literally thousands of vials had to be thrown away because they had a shelf life, they weren't being refrigerated in time. We the the like outreach efforts were not matching the number of doses that were being sent to places, and so they were being spiked. People were stealing them and selling them on the black market. So I mean, like we had the opposite problem where we just tried to move too fast and didn't do things well, and it took us a while to get our stuff together. Whereas in other countries, like, okay, so we're going to be highly organized, kind of to the point where the timeline for them reaching herd immunity with the vaccine um, didn't come in time for when the Olympics. And then if you have people who are intentionally not trying to do it as a form of protest, then that's also going to impact numbers. And then we had a variant very recently that started to spread globally. So yeah, so one government was not organized enough, and we saw some failures from that, and another one being sort of overly organized, kind of organized themselves out of an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have a comment from Ms. Williams. I wondered if they didn't want to use a vaccine developed overseas. Maybe they were hoping they could develop their own vaccine. Yeah, I don't know if that came into play. I just know to your earlier comment in terms of like just them being like highly structured, highly organized, that they put too many layers in place that backed their timeline up for rollout too close to when the Olympics would be held. And then it kind of got derailed by other things.
Yeah, and I think monetizing things like this is a huge issue worldwide. And I think that anytime you can place a dollar amount on something that can be a life-saving cure, or not a cure, but a life-saving immunization for people, who are infected with COVID, or overall, I think that you can really see the ugliness within those industries. And you can see it play out because they are monetizing a drug over people's lives. And you can see that play out here in the US, but you can see that play out everywhere. And so I'm not sure if, it came down to them wanting to develop something on their own and make money from it. But that's always, something to consider when you're talking about billions and billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. I mean, people will monetize anything. Right now, there's a market for fake vaccination cards. So, I mean, so people gonna monetize anything.
There's always a hustler out there trying to find.
Look, but let me find out how much somebody will.
Look, is that person from St.
vaccination
Louis?
card?
Is that person who thought of this from St. Louis? They say ain't no hustle without the STL, baby.
Look, that would be so St. Louis to have people like Photoshop. But the thing about it is, it would be made in St. Louis and it would look super janky and unreal. And
probably have to
vaccination card.
What part of St. Louis do I have to go to and get it? I don't want to put blocks out there.
You gotta go to Creve Coeur somewhere to get the one that say Johnson and Johnson. You go ahead and get it from somewhere else. It'll say Jansen and Jansen.
Want me to spell right?
Like them Woody Hutton T-shirts that brother Martin. You gonna have the Jansen and Jansen vaccine card.
Girl, when I say I give it to St. Louis people because they are some hustle, they'll hustle anything, boy. I tell you, I've been vaccination card.
Was it Chicago, Illinois holding a lottery for vaccinated people?
Yeah, that's crazy. You gotta beg people to get this vaccination. You got other countries who are begging for them to send us some vaccines. It's crazy.
Oh, about a quarter of states ended up doing some type of lottery. I think Oregon and Washington gave away free. Was it Washington and Oregon, or it may have been Colorado? But one of them gave away free marijuana for getting the vaccination.
Oh yeah.
I mean, states have done a lot of things to try to encourage people to go get it.
I think we were giving away beer, weren't we? Weren't we giving away beer?
Yeah, you could get free beer. I mean, there's a lot of, some cities did it where they did like a, I don't know, kind of, you guys remember the Book It program at Pizza Hut where like you would read your books and get your stickers?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, so there were some cities that had like businesses like basically do that. Like if you showed up with your vaccination card, you could get a discount, or you could get like a free drink or like a free hot dog or something. So
give me a free vacation 2 years from now, all expenses paid. Okay. And I don't need a vaccine to get that. Just give it to me.
Smoooth said that even strip clubs had deals for vaccinations.
I'm not gonna ask how he knows, but hey,
that's hard.
I know why, because he went to Lou Williams pepper wings. That's why he knows.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
People go to Hooters for the wings. Absolutely.
For the wings. All right. Come on. We have another guest. Well, she's not a guest. She's a regular on our ladies' night. Of course, she's an Amazon guru. It's Sharita. Come on down. You're the next
Amazon guru. It sounds like I need to pay a raise.
Hey, tell them. Come on with it. Hey, it don't make dollars. It don't make sense. Okay.
Thanks. Hey, ladies.
Hey, I see you with that nice hair. Hey.
I know, the slay. Always.
You know I love an Amazon wig.
All right, bundle.
And it's like Amazon Guru.
I'm
See,
just
proud
wearing
of
the proof.
marketing her company.
I'm wearing the proof. I got you.
So proud of marketing your own company. Sharita, meet Tiffany. Tiffany, meet Sharita.
What up?
Hi.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Nice
Now,
to
you guys are right on time for the next topic about second chances. Dum, dum, dum. Now, if I am not mistaken, everybody on this panel has been in a relationship with a young man once upon in their lifetime, right? So, this is where it gets interesting. You guys have probably heard the story. When it comes to a relationship that's going bad, whether marriage or just dating, do you wish ill will on your ex per se, or do you think they should get a second chance as far as earning money? We'll take the relationship part of it and just say, should they get a second chance at earning a lot of money?
Sure.
I mean, I have a child, so yes, he needs to earn a lot of money.
Okay, so well, let's be real. Hey, we keep it 100, right? Especially the ladies' perspective. So my question is, Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups are both former basketball players that just got hired as NBA coaches. They had a past of one was accused of rape, but it got settled. The other one was accused of spousal abuse, got charged for it, and so on, so on. He got divorced. Chauncey Billups, no, sorry, Jason Kidd got divorced from his wife and moved on his life. Chauncey Billups eventually he was in a relationship with another lady when the rape allegations happened, but he married her and they're still married. And I said second chance because they're getting high profile positions and people are giving them backlash because they're known for these domestic issues with women. So, do you think they have a right to make a lot of money now being coaches, or because they had these past domestic issues on their record, they shouldn't have gotten a chance?
I mean, the Jason Kidd part kind of has me a little lost because he recently was working with the Lakers. So if we're that upset, we should be upset that the NBA has him on payroll, period. And if it wasn't controversial that he kept a career affiliated with the NBA, period, then I don't understand the hyper focus on him moving up, considering he never really left the league in the first place.
This is not where I thought this conversation was going when it was in the chat and it was just like, oh, Jason Kidd, Chauncey Billups, second chances. I thought you meant since Jason Kidd's been a head coach before and was terrible, and now he's getting a chance to head coach another team. Like, should we give coaches that are terrible second chances to coach teams again? So that's what I was prepared for. So let me switch gears and think about whether or not people's jobs should be impacted by their personal lives. I said, give me a moment. Why is the camera on me?
Oh, I thought it was a quick moment. My bad. That's okay. Well, I think it's a quick moment. And I called it second chance because, okay, I forgot Jason Kidd was a head coach prior. He didn't even get as much slack like he's now getting, but I don't know if that because Chauncey and him both got it around the same time. They both have this domestic issue or domestic issue against a woman on their record. And I'm saying second chance because, like I said, they're gonna make some money. Not when they're NBA player type money, but still, and it's a high profile, it's a powerful position being a head coach. So
I mean, don't most, not to generalize, so let me say that up front, but there's a lot of athletes that have these charges and allegations against them that are still actively playing, that are in playoffs, that are still holding sponsorships. So if we're going to hyper focus on Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups, and let's run through all of the individuals that this impacts in the NBA, the NFL, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Like, honestly, it's unfortunately a huge part of the culture in general. So I'm at a loss for why we're focusing on these two when there's a list of active roster main players that are probably making more money than them, who are probably still racking up charges as we speak. So,
I mean, players, coaches, GMs,
towel boy,
personnel, towel boys, ball boys, all the boys. Like, one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that 1 in 3 women experiences a sexual assault at some point in her life. 1 in 4 have actually been raped. This isn't 10 guys that are doing this to millions of women. So, I mean, you would assume some men are multiple offenders at this, so maybe it's not fair to say 1 in 3 men have sexually assaulted a woman at some point in their lives, but it's more than two people that we're choosing to focus on. And so there's that, right? So to act like, oh, well, there's just a handful of bad apples just doesn't line up with statistics about women who are assaulted or experience sexual violence at some point. So um, they just maybe didn't have court cases, didn't come forward, didn't tell anybody, didn't go anywhere, right? Maybe they were talked out of it. Maybe they were micro insulted and told that like what they thought they were experiencing wasn't really assault or rape. And so yeah, so there's myriad reasons why women don't report, why those stories don't come forward, and why we don't know more about these men and try to act like there's only a handful of bad apples with penises. Um,
I
but
will say this
okay.
is they're called coaches, the NBA coaches, or just head coaches in general. Even NFL, MLB, NHL is a fraternity in itself. Like I said, you make it more as a player than a coach, but a coach does have power. Now, if it were two white people, young former players, like let's just say Steve Nash, he got hired last year. Steve Nash had this situation with Chauncey Billups and what's another player like another white player, same issue like Jason Kidd, and they got into this position now. We'll be talking about it. We would be still. However, because a lot of backlash has been talked about with the GM and front offices of these NBA teams and not having enough black coaches in these positions, the light is on them, and I think even more. And they're trying to say, well, there's still other possible black coaches that could have taken their spot without having this domestic issues on their record. And mind you, though, the thing with Jason Kidd was from 2001. The one from Chauncey Billups was like late 90s. That doesn't excuse it, but people, the media don't forget sometimes they need a new storyline. Instead of just saying, hey, they got two former players, head coaches, the two having domestic issues. So I guess they got parallel stories and they're trying to bring it to the forefront of none of them just being hired as a coach. So if you took out the racial part of this, it still would be a story. But the Dallas Mavericks, specifically where Jason Kidd got hired, they had a horrific culture about how they're doing women, and that's why they brought in their CEO, former AT&T HR head of HR, Sent Marshall, took over. She's trying to help clean that culture. And then some people are looking like, well, if you're trying to clean the culture, how they're doing women, it wasn't good. And then you bring somebody that had this on their record, and that's why I'm kind of like, it's not fresh, not an excusing it either, because he did plead guilty. It's over 20 years ago.
He pled guilty or he settled out of
He,
court?
He
Chauncey
pled guilty.
Jason
Kid did.
Kidd pled guilty.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's why I can say I can't say allegedly or
Mhm.
he pled guilty. So I'm going with what he did.
Right.
So you're going to a team that you are accused of doing this to a woman, and you pled guilty, and here you are. The culture of this team is still trying to get cleaned up, dealing with their culture, how they're treating women. So that's one part people were kind of looking like, what the hell is going on with the Mavericks organization? But then as far as Chauncey Billups, again, it was like he settled out of course. We don't know what happened. Probably he said, she said.
Mhm.
But still, are they giving, even though they're not making as much money, they're still powerful men? Are they still in the right to be in these positions, or should they get into two other up and coming assistant coaches who happen to be black? That's why I said I don't want to throw the race thing, but it is a little bit because if there was two white people in this position and we talk about it, the blacks who are not having enough representation, they're saying there's two other good candidates that could have been black could have taken their spot. So
Yeah, I mean, I know you talk about a systemic issue, right? So it's deep and it's a long history of abuse against women in sports in general, and male-dominated sports. But does someone have to lose their career because of mistakes that they're making in their personal life? And I mean, I just even if they are in a position of power, that's a question we have to answer. And I'd like to tread lightly on this because of also emphasis of race and how it's implicated in this. And it's hard to have a hard, firm answer, and it's also hard not to have a hard, firm answer if I'm just speaking on women's rights in general, right? if I'm just thinking from a woman's perspective and how we've been treated in society and standing up for women and allowing them to have a voice and ensuring that they are kept safe and valued, then my answer would be no. However, there is the other part of that when you're thinking about this is their job, this is their career. If I made a mistake in my career, I would want a second chance. And so I think it's a little bit layered for me. And it's funny people say that because I'm in a career where people make mistakes all the time. Sometimes it costs them their jobs. And so it's interesting because what I think myself or a fellow counterpart deserve a second chance, and I would want that to happen. So I'm interested to hear more what you ladies have to say, but it's a very layered topic for me.
I respect it. I mean, like Sharita made a good point. Let's just say Jason Kidd's ex-wife is like, yeah, F him. He go kick rocks. If he got hit by a car tomorrow,
Yeah.
I may not feel some type of way, but they have kids together. If he makes more money, that helps my kids out and better their future. And I know it's just like a different way to look at it as well. It's like you may not like that person anymore, but they still are a person. They still are the father to the child, or they're still provider. They're still a great motivator. I mean, they could be a horrible, crappy husband, spouse, boyfriend, but great to motivate players and to have them not go on the wrong path, or for them to, like I said, provide for the children so they can have a better future.
So here's a lens that maybe is being played with bringing at least Kid and the Mavericks. I don't have much to say about Chauncy. Um, Maybe the lens they're playing is that they feel their organization has changed, and maybe they feel Jason has changed as well. So that may be the band aid or the label that they're playing, that people can change, people can get better, and in representation of our organization, not saying it's a good play, but I would hate for something I did 10 years ago, albeit dead wrong, to be something that I'm labeled for every time I progress in my career. So it could be the opportunity where they're trying to say they think that this man has changed and he may be the representation of the organization that's also trying to evolve with that as well.
They could also just be thinking this is completely different sides of the house. Like the issues that the organization had with women was not in relation to coaching and players. It was in the operation side. Right. And so they may be like, we're Jason Kidd is not going to be around any women in this position, right? Like, I don't even think they have any women assistant coaches. So, like, that's basketball operations. That has nothing to do with where the issue was found, which is over here. And so they may not hire someone with an abuse history to be their director of equity, diversity, and inclusion on the business side of the house, but they may just be completely bifurcating these functions and being like, but that has nothing to do with the basketball operation side. So we don't like, they may just not even see it as material to what happened on this other side of the house.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go back to where I did when we had the whole Kobe discussion. My first thing is, how do the women who are their victims feel about this, right? If they don't care about them making money, if they don't care about them making jobs, why are we taking up the mantle for somebody else in their name? So let's not do that. And then if you just like on GP don't think that people with domestic abuse history should be employed or shouldn't be allowed to be famous, I guess I just don't. I guess I just don't understand the logic behind that. Yeah, I could see if you as a company do not want to be. So when people lose their jobs over being racist or sexist or whatever it is, I understand if a company is like, I do not want to be associated with you anymore. That's fine. I don't understand people who are like, well, you should never be able to get a job anymore. Um, Nobody has ever been talked out of being a racist because they lost a job over it, right? So it just doesn't have the impact that you want it to. And there are definitely some jobs where how you feel about like women is material. So if I just hate women and I'm the dean at a women's school, like that's problematic.
Mhm.
But can I like stock groceries? Okay, like that ain't got nothing to do with this. And so I also think we have to be careful about just like excommunicating people from society at large rather than just protecting specific populations that they have harmed. And then the last thing that I'll say is that um, in general, we have to get to a place where we allow people to grow and to not be the people that they were before. And I think is a country that is currently wrestling with not wanting to be seen as what we used to be, we have to allow for that grace in people's individual lives that that all of us are not the same person in 2021 that we were in the late 90s or the early 2000s. Hopefully we all have progressed forward, and have matured, and that there's not always that doesn't have to, our worst moments do not always have to precede us in conversation.
Okay.
And we have a comment. So yeah, I also think that it is partly the company that doesn't want to be associated with certain things. I agree. If a specific company is like, I don't want to be associated with this, I think that's fine. But I think just a GP stance that people who do certain things should never be employed again holds no value.
I mean, when you think about it, so many people would be unemployed. I mean, as a whole in society, if that were the case, right?
I just because they put it on emphasis with they're known to make a lot of money at one time being athletes. But what I want to say the irony or what's funny, so you know how the NFL, NBA, NFL, I guess NHL too have the rules if you're an active player, if there's an investigation, if there's a police report or something, if you had domestic abuse or domestic violence, sexual assault against you, they have these new rules in place where you can get suspended or team has to look into it and determine if you'll get suspended or even temporarily banned from the league. But I don't believe in the same rules for quote unquote management, meaning coaches, assistant coaches, GMs. Maybe there is, but I haven't heard of it.
I mean, if you think about the Super Bowl, so like Super Bowl coach for Kansas City, Andy Reid, his son got drunk and caused a car accident that caused harm like
Right,
2 nights before the Super Bowl.
right,
And there was no like he didn't come, but I think they were just like, nah, man, this ain't a good look. It wasn't like the NFL Coaches Association was like, you're suspended until we investigate this issue
right.
further. I think they were. I mean, so you're right. In many situations, things that we apply to players, both in professional sports and in terms of college sports, that there's those same rules don't apply to coaches, owners, GMs, management, really anybody on the operations side of the house.
Right.
But
So,
that's also disproportionately where Black and Brown people are, is on the players' side of the operations versus the demographics that make up the operations side of the house.
I was just gonna say that is done by design. And
right,
it's done by design, and but I think that when rules and regulations are in place and when you have organizations who stand up for women's rights and things like that, I mean, that is very empowering for the players and also the supporters of the players. And I think that a lot's to be said for adding some diversity or more diversity to those decision making teams.
that's true.
Sharita, I think this comment is for you. So Smooth said, look at the opportunities for Jimmy Uso in the WWE.
Yeah, Jimmy likes to drink a lot. Um, he's been suspended for more DUIs than like more than I'm comfortable like counting in my head. And
Mm-hmm.
he goes away for a couple of months. He comes back. He performs stellar. And then, for example, he got pulled over yesterday for
Mm-hmm.
a DUI again.
Dang.
Oh, damn,
Um,
he's current.
I
Okay.
feel
Right.
like once you hit 3, you're supposed to go to prison. But I guess if you work for Vince McMahon, you don't, because he's definitely hit about 5, 6, 7 in the
Buying off
past
the
Mm-hmm.
3 years.
judge, buying off the policeman. Mm-mm-mm. That's crazy. That's
Mm-hmm.
dangerous. You're dangerous to yourself, not just society, to yourself. Well, you can't control or you got to get behind the wheel every time you drink so much. And you talking about just yesterday?
And I mean, to be fair, I know this isn't our point, but when you're privileged enough to have a driver, like we're not even talking about Uber, like you can have a whole car driven for you
Mhm.
forever. It's almost just the ignorance at that point. Like if you plan to go to a bar and you know for a fact it's gonna not end well for your liver, you
Mhm.
make those arrangements. If somebody who's making like 50,000 a year can Uber home so they don't cause anyone harm on their way
Right.
home,
Mhm.
it's the arrogance for me that you're that talented, you're that
Mhm.
rich, and you're still that stupid. So no, it's not our current topic, but it almost blends right into like WWE going to Rolling Loud. Like there's gonna be so many people off the roster after that. I don't even know why they put those two things together.
To try
Mhm.
to bring the business back up. You know, everybody trying to make up for they couldn't have those performances during the pandemic. So they know hip
They
hop
sold out Madison
concerts,
Square Garden.
WWE.
They don't need Rolling Loud. They sell out Madison Square Garden no matter what.
Again,
Like
this country's based off of greed. The more money you can get at one time, you do it. So you got to go to Rolling Loud in Miami, hit up to New York, Madison Square, you do it. You making up for all the lost money that you can. Now, no matter who's expendable, it's greed first, okay? Greed first, then we care about life second. Remember that.
But
That's
that's
the
how I
true
feel about
American way.
Sha'carri Richardson's team. Why didn't her team be like, yo, okay, we got you. Go ahead and do what you need to do. But then we gonna get on Al Gore's interwebs and we gonna order you some of this urine. Or I got you. I'm gonna put it in the condom. You'll be cool. Or put it in the
Maybe
bucket.
they money wasn't flowing like that because you know a lot of these athletes like Tiffany brought a good point. They'll take out second mortgage. They spend a lot of money for training and all that. Their money, if they don't have sponsorship, they're not balling. Like Shakara, does she have sponsorship like that already? Nike has her. I don't know how much they're getting,
Yeah. I mean, a
but
balloon
some
and a
of them
needle
who
are
do see this,
free.
some of these athletes don't
So
get that sponsorship like that.
yes, but a balloon and a needle are free. So it's not an
I'm
expensive surgery.
not gonna ask how you know all the shortcuts to this, but
Look, I'm just saying.
now you acting like somebody from St. Louis. Now you want to talk about us? You acting like you lived in St. Louis too long. You
If
know
you
all the short.
equate being in St. Louis for 6 years with my 15 years working in the criminal justice system, then yes. All I'm saying
Like
is
too
balloons
many.
and needles are very inexpensive. So someone on her team could have handled that for her.
Oh my God! Like, so what clinic do I have to go to? The city health department on Grand? Like, you know where to get this stuff? I gotta go to Junebug and the hood. I mean, you know the shortcuts. Just what you
They're
got.
not testing for DNA. They're just testing for urine. You could just ask someone on your team, pee in this balloon, insert before your test, put a needle under a braid or under a track.
Oh my
When you go in,
God.
scratch your head, go like you're going to prepare the area for a clean sample, pop the balloon, it falls in the cup, coming out of the area where it's supposed to come. They test it, your pee is clean. Like, free advice for everyone. Y'all
I was
just
about to say that's a whole tutorial.
Clearly, I
so
was
many
on
people are gonna pass their
track.
drug test because of you.
Right.
y'all didn't even know that y'all was gonna be taught how to pass a drug test.
The economy is about to boom in like 2 weeks.
But that's
Girl.
why you subscribe to the platform Sports Talk Show. You too can get tips about how to pass a
Oh my
drug test as a
God.
woman on the first Wednesday of every month on Ladies Night.
Oh my gosh. Eddie, I can't.
Hashtag Annie said it.
Right.
Hashtag balloons and needles are free.
Oh my God. And you said you worked the criminal justice system long enough to hear all the stories and the shortcuts people have
Look,
done here.
I know some things. I'm just saying.
I'm interested.
We'll save
I'm
that
all
other one for the next ladies' night because it'd be too many. Before we wrap up, lady, I did want to bring up one more thing. I'm watching WNBA game right now, but the NBA, and everybody familiar with, if you're not, Rachel Nichols um Andrew,
Maria Taylor.
yeah, Maria Taylor. I said Andrews because she's another black anchor too, but Tarita, you keep up with any NBA at all?
I'm familiar with this story.
Okay, Tiffany, familiar with NBA at all?
I am. I'm familiar with this one as well.
All right, all right, all right. So, do y'all know about the show The Jump? That's the show that Rachel Nichols hosts every day. So, do you think that she was being, I don't know, what's the word? uh, not anti black woman, but she's being just a hater, salty, or what's your thoughts on her talking out against uh what's her name?
Maria Taylor.
Maria Taylor. Blame on Prego Brain, sorry. So what are y'all thoughts about it?
So we're talking about Rachel Nichols, that leaked call
Hmm.
about how she doesn't understand why, because ESPN is having diversity issues, the black woman is going to start taking her show. I think it was like the NBA playoffs, if I'm not mistaken,
It
that
was
she
the
normally
playoffs in
covered.
the bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, the bubble.
So Rachel Nichols had previously done the pregame and postgame coverage during the NBA playoffs. And so during the bubble, she apparently found out last minute that they were going to give that role to Maria Taylor. And so she was in a call with um, an agent and accidentally recorded herself,
Mm.
But
which,
it was on the company's equipment though.
right, but she was
But
not
she didn't turn it
intending
off
to
properly,
record
so
it.
it was recording.
Right, she did not intend to record it, so recorded herself onto not only the device, but the device that automatically uploads to ESPN servers. So
Oh
she couldn't
God.
even delete it off the device. But she said that she understands why they wanted Maria Taylor to do, the show, but at the same time, it's in her contract that she's supposed to do it. And now she's being bumped because ESPN has a diversity problem, and she understands that they need to do something about it, but it shouldn't come at her expense.
The funny part is she continues to say that she outworked everybody to get where she was, but you're not going to give the same consideration to Maria Taylor possibly outworking you. Like, white
That's
tears
what
are
I was
hilarious
thinking.
to me. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I was
You
thinking
are
that.
not the best. No one is the best. Anybody who's ever read a contract knows that there's always that random amendment that this is subject to change at any time. So I'm sure that in the beginning, in the bigger font, it said this is in your contract. And if you would have read smaller and focused on your entire document, you would see that they have the ability to do whatever the hell they want to do when you sign this document. So it's like I said, white tears. That's all it is to me. So if she thinks she was too good to ever be replaced, um, unfortunately, she learned the hard way. Life.
I thought it was. I wouldn't say, like I said, not anti-black woman, but maybe anti Maria Taylor, because Maria, like she gave some of the stuff that Maria's done already. Yeah, she's done football reporting. She's
Anybody
done
who starts
basketball
off a
reporting.
phrase that I wish someone success doesn't wish them success.
It's
Like,
the cliche
no
term
one
to
ever
say it.
means that. It's not anti. I mean, I don't know if the phrase you're trying to say that she was an anti-black woman, but she was very pro-white privilege, pro-white woman privilege, which
And
is
I was
almost
just about,
worse.
I would think I was picking it up from that because she did say, as far as with ESPN known for their issues with diversity, and she said, of course, being a woman,
Split
I
it in to
know
make it about her.
she knows what she
Yeah.
had to go through being a woman, right? So when you see another person, and maybe because of the mindset, like you said, it's a privilege thing, if somebody else you think is taking your spot, mind you, though, she has a whole show. She's the only woman that has a whole basketball show. Nobody else at ESPN has a whole show. Not even Heather Burke, who has done ESPN analyst. Not these other people who are on their other network. She has her own show. Not even with the Stephen A. Smith and Kellerman are on uh what's the show? Come on, and
First take.
yeah, what's her name? Molly is the moderator. That's still
Mm-hmm.
not her show. That's still definitely Stephen A's show. He gets the most out of any ESPN person anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The Jump is Rachel Nichols. Everybody know that's her show. And they didn't even take that. My job, this leak came out. She did this recording last summer. The leak came out, or whatever. Whoever found out about it, the New York Times reporter reported on it on Sunday. That's why it's just not been talked about. But my thing is, I don't know if it's the PR or damage control because this was from last summer. The digital producer who got wind of it, who told Marie Taylor about it, she found out about it, but they didn't do anything besides just reprimand the digital producer who leaked it to Marie Taylor, who told her about it. That's the only action that happened. Now it's coming out, and it's like, oh, okay, well, let's just take her off the finals. That's PR damage control because y'all knew about it back then from last year when it happened. So only because it's public, because otherwise, why would y'all take her off the finals? Y'all were gonna let everything be BAU, business as usual.
Hmm.
That's all I'm saying. I'm like, it's regarding Rachel Nichols' comments. I get it; it wasn't right. But as far as ESPN, only because y'all got got busted on it. Why you trying to clean it up now by not letting Rachel Nichols do the NBA finals? But who's to say she won't do it next year? Who's to say that she won't have the jump and give you more money? That's why I was like, okay, y'all just clean this up because y'all really don't. I don't believe care enough. As long as you're getting your money, your dollars, that's what I think ESPN is looking at it. They don't care. They can keep Maria Taylor happy where she is, even though her contract is up in a couple of weeks and it hasn't been re-signed yet. So we'll see what she does as well. But she can take her talents elsewhere and get paid more too.
And Smooth added to the comments that the jump didn't air yesterday, which was a last minute change, and that Rachel Nichols is apologizing because she got caught. Absolutely, because she's also been, I wouldn't say a prominent voice, but she has contributed to several conversations around the social justice movements of this summer and player rights and speaking out. And when, Milwaukee decided not to play after, was it the death of, or was it the shooting of Jacob?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was then, or maybe it was the murder of Dante Wright. There's been so many, who knows?
I'm sure.
But she's been publicly on the side of pro blackness, but then, so I think that's what also amplifies this is that she's been a public ally and then privately feeling like, well, yes, diversity needs to happen, but not at my expense.
I mean, that's what old boy on the phone said. Also, like between the Me Too movement and the Black Lives Matter movement, I ain't got nothing to say. Like,
Right.
let's talk about this bullshit. Also, like, there's
Yeah.
a lot that went wrong on that phone call.
It sounds
And
like
now
y'all
that
trying
it's
to say
all
like it's
out,
affirmative action. That's what it seems like. Y'all just trying to put a prettier name and sounding to affirmative action. Like it's only because we got to have a black person there.
which is
That's
super
what it is.
hypocritical because who's to say that her having her own show wasn't also a diversity move?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, look at all the players that she's interviewing. No one, no, many of them don't look like her. And I think that her taking a stance is it's a surprise, but to who? It's not a surprise to us. I mean, we understand when these types of things happen, but I think that she got too comfortable in her position and is actually very comfortable with expressing her against other races. And so when that happens, loose lips sink ships. What are we going to say? You know,
Mhm.
put your job on the line, and it's silly.
So, Kristen Rogers adds to the discussion. It looks really bad because it puts women against each other. And then Smooth added, look at Jamel Hill and Carrie Champion leaving ESPN over the last few years. So,
Yeah, like, there's ESPN is known for not being at the forefront like they should be. Like they speak diversity, but they don't. Or after it comes out, and then they try to do like I said, PR damage control. But it's nothing new. But unfortunately, like I said, this got leaked out. It came out a year later. Now they want to do these changes and this and that. And it's like, why Rachel Nichols didn't take it there? Like you have another woman. It's not enough women in the sports industry, let alone working on air at ESPN, let alone with this big platform at your own show and get to interview these people or these players. I mean, you know how many women are still trying to get there, and let alone because of all that you accomplished. And she said she's probably broken barriers. Yeah. So why would you? She thought it was private. I get it, but still the mindset there. That's like, come on now, women supposed to be we supposed to be with each other, but sometimes everybody's background's different. I don't know, like I said, like Tiffany, we don't know how she got her own show, what she had to do, but still, you shouldn't down another person who whose credentials can back it up. It's not like I don't know if y'all familiar with Erin Andrews. Few years
mm-hmm.
ago, she was working with for Fox. She was supposedly like a nobody, but because she was cute, blind, white girl, they gave her these reporting jobs, and then she was not known to be talented per se, but because of her look, she got the job. And then she complained about sexual harassment. Fox didn't know how to deal with it. Eventually, she left. But it's like she didn't have, let's say, a journalism background. She didn't have working from grassroots before she got there. It's based off her looks. You can't say that about Maria Taylor. she sat there and put her work and her time in, you know. So I don't see why her mindset went that way. But like I said, we'll see how this plays out. It's still not over with, and we'll see if Taylor stays at the network or not. But I commend for any women in the sports industry. It's not easy. It's not in your favor. And y'all, I think Tiffany mentioned earlier, Jason Kidd, or no, Jason Kidd may not have any, or he won't have interaction with women. Well, I want to see some more women being assistant coaches. Put more of them on the sideline. We do need more women in the NBA. We have plenty of men coaches in the WNBA, plenty of men coaches, NCAA basketball coaches. What about women? We know plenty of us know the game. Give them the opportunities too, though. So I'm waiting to see more of that. Let's start as assistants and get an opportunity to interview as the head coach. Everybody's talking about Becky Hammond. She was the one who was going against or competing with Chauncey Billups for that head coaching position. She got it. She didn't. That doesn't mean she won't have another opportunity, but it's still not easy. And who knows how long it'll take, how many more years somebody else will give her opportunity to interview, and then interviewing, and then coaching. That's one way. But just like in NFL, my sister, she's an assistant football coach at Vashon High School, probably one of two in the whole state. And let alone the opportunity to get it is great. But how many people we willing to take on having her as assistant at a college and a bigger university? It's people who still on that stereotype because she's a woman, she can only know so much, only do so much. Come on, we should be past that now since 2021. And for all these men that have daughters who are coaches and assistant coaches, if your daughter tell you she want to coach and she want to be head coach, you will break your neck to make sure she can get that position. So you should treat these young ladies and women out here the same way. Give them the opportunities to be able to become great coaches, great anchormen, news report, whatever. Because sports is just so male dominated, at least the ones that make money. Let us women get in there too and do it too. That's all I'm saying. Give us opportunity. We know we're just as good.
I don't think that's going to happen because men realize that women are daughters. I mean, men have been having daughters since human creation, and it hasn't led them to seek out equal rights for women. They direct their girls to what they believe to be girl things and direct their boys to what they believe to be boy things. And women should be valued because of who they are, not because they're someone's daughter or someone's mother or someone's sister. They have value without thinking about their relationship to men. Um, but yeah, I don't think that that's going to be what wakes people up. And the passage of time doesn't create change. So I know sometimes it's tempting to be like, oh, it's 2021. But I mean, that doesn't mean anything in the course of human history. It's not like there's some sort of like programming taking place where by the time we get to a certain year, we will have reached the higher form of humanity. Human development is not always linear. And so, we're not necessarily, every day we're alive, we're not necessarily progressing as an individual or as a species. So, I don't know. I, wait, there was, oh no, that's comments for us. So, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
and at the end of the day, I think that it's important for women to support each other. You know, like you said, we often have opportunities and we just continue to uplift and bring each other forward whenever we have an opportunity and try our best to not limit our own progress and promote our own progress rather over others. I don't have to reach the top to pull someone along with me, and a lot of times I see that, people say, well, I haven't gotten where I need to go, before they can start helping others. You can start today. It doesn't take all that. So support is definitely necessary with, you know, the progress of women in this period.
and that's on that. You let them know, Coach Tiff. Wait.
I got one more thing before we wrap up. Just from a coaching angle, I'm glad at the positions that they both got, because typically Black coaches are brought in to clean up dumpster fires. I mean, I feel like just in professional work that like when something is like just beyond the pale, then it's like, okay, now we'll have our first Black CEO ever, like when the company is like going under, right? And the same thing happens in sports where there's coaching positions. Like the first Black coach to coach this team typically inherits the team after it's had its worst season. And so the fact that they're going to teams that are perennial playoff teams, that are contenders, that have some superstar talent, that could benefit from just a few roster moves, I think is progress in and of itself. That minority coaching jobs aren't only handed over to people when it would not be a good look for a white person's career, to be associated with the dumpster fire. So I think they're both walking into great situations, and um, yeah, I don't wish anybody failure. So I hope that they do well. I think we have to move away from Black exceptionalism as a form of racism, where if Black people are going to do it, then we have to be exceptional, squeaky clean, the best ever to have done it, the smartest to have ever done it. And then, other people can just sort of have their average, in those positions. And so, I mean, I'm okay with them not being this. I'm not okay with what they did. I am okay with the fact that Black people do not always have to be squeaky clean to get chances that mediocre people get all the time. Um, so yeah, so I'm happy to see that we're moving away from Black exceptionalism as a form of racism. I'm happy that Black coaches are getting opportunities to coach teams that are immediate contenders and not be Mark Jackson, if you're familiar with the Warriors. So yeah. Smoooth added facts. They are provided a chance to win right away, and they are not a rebuilding project. They're not being Mark Jackson.
Exactly. But again, I was told he was blackballed, but that's nothing to do with his talent on the sideline coaching. The ladies, great show, great feedback, great responses, questions, all that good stuff. I'm telling you, you all did a wonderful, awesome job. Thank you all for tuning in. Anybody that is out there, Facebook, make sure you tune in Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And check us out also on YouTube. Subscribe to the Platform Sports Talk Show page and click on that bell. You know why? Because anytime we go live, you will be notified.
Can I give one final shout out to women?
Have at it, hun.
With the name, image, likeness change in the NCAA, some of the largest deals so far have been signed by women college athletes. And I think it's just excellent to see women, particularly those who are playing sports where they don't have a competitive hiring potential to men who play those same professional sports, to be able to make their money now and to defy what some of the concern was, that like, oh well, how will women's sports make money? The same way women have always been making money, by being smart, by working hard, by being bosses, and so I'm just really excited about all the women who have signed endorsement deals recently due to the changes in the name, image, likeness. Shout out to y'all being CEOs of your own life. Love it.
Hey, on that note, Smooth, you need to play our outro music by Kelly's. I'm bossy. Hey, because I am now. Ladies, thank you all so much. Good point, Annie. Good point, Tiff. Good point, Sharita. Also, shout out to Joe. Also, again, next month, August, we'll have another ladies' night, first Wednesday of the month. Everybody, hopefully, you can return. If not, just tune in. And again, everyone else for watching, thank you so much. Shout out to our host with the most, DJ Fred, aka Smooth. Also, shout out to Stanton. Hopefully, they will be back next Wednesday. And until then, make sure you all stay safe, mask up, and see you next time. And as Smooth says, we out. Oh, wait a minute, y'all. When are we supposed to work on our outro? Annie or Sharita? Didn't y'all say we supposed
Look, we were supposed to have some liquor. We were supposed to say something about
See,
daring to be
we have our own little
vulnerable.
thing now, but I don't know what
Oh,
happened.
okay, Sharita, stay ready. Sharita is a stay ready all star. So the rest of us need to get up on game. We're supposed to do a toast and say
I
something.
know, right? Well, look, I got
The courage to be
It's empty.
vulnerable, or the
Okay, it's
rapacity
empty.
to be vulnerable.
We can do a cheers. We do a virtual cheers, ladies, for a great show. Great
What's
night.
you saying?
Well, I'm not a
Sharita, what was the saying
Toastmaster.
you came up with? Sharita, what was the saying you came up with about
The
vulnerability?
audacity to be
The
authentic, right?
audacity be.
That sounds right. The
We'll
audacity to
stick with
be
that.
authentic. There we go. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers for that.
Cheers.
Night, ladies. Thank you all.
Thanks for having me.
Don't hang up.